If they go Stroud at 2, then I think they'll look at defense.
Isn't it looking more and more and more like we better brace ourselves that it's not going to be a
yes,
Stroud?
I believe that the only way it's Stroud is if the owner says, I want a quarterback, and he goes Stroud. And I'm telling you better brace yourself for that, because there's some buzz around the league that the Texans may not even want the pick anymore. They may not even want the second pick, and they may not be able to find anyone to trade up. So this is
really no one is interested. If Bryce Young goes 1,
here's the problem: how far back do you want to move?
That's the problem.
That's the concern. This is what I felt the whole time. Is the problem is I don't think Seattle wants it. I've been told Seattle wants to wait until next year for quarterback. Now, has it changed to Stroud? Maybe. But if Seattle doesn't want it at 5 and the Lions don't want it at 6, the Raiders are a possibility to go from 7 to 2. But if you move all the way back, I think there's still a chance that Will Anderson will be gone for sure. I think one cornerback will be gone for sure. Do you want to draft Christian Gonzalez? You could take Lucas Van Ness there. You could take Tyree Wilson might fall to you there. That's a possibility, but he also might go 6. Although I think Witherspoon would go 6. Tyree could go 5 though to Seattle. So you have to have a feel for where guys are going to fall. Like I've told the Texans before, hey, I'll be more than happy to help you. I help other teams about where they just say, where do you think this guy goes? And I tell other teams I'll be more than happy to help the Texans. But you have to kind of have a feel for where guys are going to go if you're going to trade back. Now, if you like Lucas Van Ness, for example, well, you could go from 2. That's the defensive end from Iowa. You could go from 2 to 7, and you're good. Like, you could still pick who you want, and you picked him an extra draft pick, and you got the 12th pick, which you could take a wide receiver in Smith and Jigba if you want him. But there's not going to be a pass rusher really there, other than unless you have Miles Murphy from Clemson ready there. He didn't have a lot of juice as a pass rusher. He's more of a big, strong guy at the point of attack. Nolan Smith, if you want him, but Nolan Smith is 235-pound, 3-4 outside linebacker. That's about 15 pounds lighter than you want.
Yeah. Matt Miller of ESPN writes that he knows. I know the Texans love edge rusher Will Anderson of Alabama.
Okay.
The team's top-ranked prospect overall, and he could land with the Texans.
I mean, what would be the worst thing in the world to me? I've got Will Anderson, the number 2 player in the draft.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be sad about that. I just don't know if he's correct.
If the Texans love him. Right. You don't know.
I think they may like him.
Well,
do they love him?
With the injuries to Tyree, they may just go, you know what? Let's just take the safer pick.
Yeah.
Let's just take a safer pick.
They could. They haven't typically operated that way, but they could.
But the buzz is that maybe they're trying to get out of that pick. We'll see. We'll see if that is the case. If the Texans trade out, are you bummed? Are you happy? If they don't take a quarterback, are you bummed? Are you happy? Waiting for another year and you got to pile up a bunch more losses, which I don't know that they will next year. Listen, I didn't think they would this year either, but they did. Congratulations. They surprised me on number of losses. So and here they are with the 2nd overall pick, and they don't even. We'll see if they even want it. That's a problem. Hearing that the Texans aren't taking a quarterback at number 2, and I want to know: are you guys pissed? If they don't take the quarterback here, I mean, listen. If Stroud turns out to be a quarterback, if he turns out to be really good, wow! You want to talk about epic fail so far? Derek Stingley has been a disappointment compared to Sauce Gardner.
We're early, but I don't think he's ever catching sauce.
I don't know that he'll ever catch sauce. And Kenyon Green's been
he better get a lot better.
He better get a lot better this offseason at pass blocking, at pass protecting, which he
I
wasn't
had somebody
good at.
tell me that the Texans have an elite offensive line this weekend.
What?
It's the word on the streets.
Well,
it's the word on Twitter.
They have an elite left tackle. They have
stop right there.
Yeah.
They don't really have a center. They've got.
I don't mind Titus though.
They've got a left guard that needs to get a lot better, a right guard that's just average, and Titus, who I think is an average tackle.
Yeah, he's
They're not a. It's not a terrible line. No. It's not elite.
Yeah,
it's not elite, and it's not above average either.
It's
a good run blocking line. It's a below average pass blocking line.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're just it's just.
So what I heard last night was the Texans are shopping that pick.
Oh wow!
And if they're shopping the number 2 pick, that means that they don't like Stroud. And if they don't like Stroud, and I told you I put all the pieces in my mock, I didn't have any inside info from the Texans. I just tried to put the pieces together. And when I did, I'm like, man, it'd be real easy on my mock if I just gave them Stroud. But now that I know they're calling around about potentially, and look, you can do that just to see what it could. Now this is what I'll just walk through this. This could be a thing where they say, boy, everyone seems to think there's a lot of value if we passed on Stroud. Let's just put it out there and let's see what. I wonder what we could get if we traded the number 2 pick. They could be doing that. They could be, you could still have a scenario where they take CJ Stroud because the owner says, I want a quarterback, take CJ Stroud, and they do it. That's not really his style that I've ever seen, Cal McNair. But you could also be saying, let's just see what this pick is, because if somebody's willing to give us, if Seattle's willing to give us their pick later in the first round or next year's first and give us the number 5 pick, we'll trade out.
Yeah.
So there's still a chance they could take CJ Stroud, absolutely. But I do know that they have called people about the pick.
Are they trying to put that out there to see if there are any takers and to find out whether or not how the public would react to this?
No, because this came internally. This is not out in public. I'm the only one who's saying this.
Yeah.
You haven't heard this anywhere else because this comes from. I've been talking to a lot of teams lately, and teams hear from because teams get phone calls from the Texans.
Yeah.
And I was just told by a team, hey, just so you know, because I help some teams where guys could get just slotted or whatever. And every once in a while they'll throw me a little bone, and that was a bone they threw me, and I said, huh. So that's not out there. I'm telling you, I'm the first one telling you this. They're making phone calls. Now, the way I read it is I put all the other pieces together, they don't like Stroud.
Maybe, yeah.
Not enough to have
No, there's no other way to read it.
But
other than it's smart to put out feelers.
It is smart. What's it worth?
No.
What's it worth?
But is there only? That's so amazing. There's only one guy in this draft. There's only one.
So D'Amico, everyone's going to point to. Here's D'Amico saying too. Okay, they can like 2 guys, but one of them they can like a lot better than the other one.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they can also be saying we're not going to say one guy. We're not going to put ourselves in a position where someone can leverage us. Because here's the thing. From what I understand, the owner is in on Bryce Young, and that's it for Carolina. It ain't going to be Stroud. It ain't going to be anyone else. It's Bryce Young. The owner has decided this is who we're taking. He loves Bryce. He's big into the S2 scores. Apparently, Bryce scored really high. It's going to be Bryce Young at 1. So, because everyone's like, why don't you just make a trade with number 1? Because that's their guy. Unless you want to give them a dumb trade where they're forced to – and then if you're giving them a trade that's that big, you better be getting a generational player. And that's not Bryce. Bryce Young isn't a generational talent. Like, for you to give up a trade where they're going to give up the guy that's first on their board?
Yeah. No, that doesn't happen, though. That's not.
No, if he's first on their board and they've already
for a
traded.
team that needs it, got to have a quarterback.